Well, Julian Nagelsmann had some scathing words about his players after their loss to Slovakia.
Oh,
It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say, but let's hear what someone else, another big name in German football, has to say. This is Uli Hoeness. He's a Bayern Munich board member. He says, we're very satisfied at FC Bayern. We are the real winners of the summer transfer window. We have a strong team and didn't need to strengthen it much. Of course, we would have liked to have Florian Wirtz, but we'd never have bought him for 150 million euros. Nicolas Jackson is not a 16.5 million loan fee because the player and his agent are contributing 3 million, so that leaves 13.5 million. And there will definitely not be a permanent contract. That only happens if he plays 40 games from the start, and he will never do that. Oh my days. If you're Nicolas Jackson, I hope you are covering your ears and not reading the German press, but Ale, what on earth is going on here at Bayern?
You just mentioned Nicolas Jackson.
Yeah.
And this is a player that just joined your team, who's feeling good about himself because he just left a situation in Chelsea where he wasn't wanted.
Fought to leave that situation.
And he walks into Bayern Munich thinking, man, I'm full of life. Here I go. And then here comes Uli Hoeness and says, life. What life? You have no life. You're barely here. You had to pay to come here. And mind you, you think you're going to have a permanent contract here? No chance. 9. That's not happening. I don't understand how this explanation was needed from Uli Hoeness. I don't want, and if you feel like you have to give this explanation, it's because you know that you come up short in the transfer window. He's talking about the players that they didn't get, that they should have gone after, that they didn't go after, that they weren't going to afford, that they were not going to make an offer on, that they were going to pay this or not pay that. Right, okay. You still haven't addressed the fact that Alphonso Davies is going to be out for a long period of time because of an ACL injury. And so the left back position, you have Josip Stanisic playing there, who's a right-footed player. You haven't addressed the fact that you have Konrad Laimer playing right back, who's not a right back, who's a midfielder. You also haven't addressed the fact that in the midfield, if Joshua Kimmich or Leon Goretzka gets injured, you have Pavlovic, and that's it to take the position of any of those players. You haven't addressed the fact that actually Nicolas Jackson gives you some depth that you needed in the attack because a few players, including Leroy Sané, were allowed to walk out the door, but there was no answer for those players. And so he may say that they had a successful window. They had an okay window, but they didn't address some of their most dire needs. And the Nico Jackson situation is one that they needed to do because they were running out of time in order to cover for the potential absence of Harry Kane. This was not an excellent window for Bayern Munich.
Frank, you're probably the only pundit on this show that has even tried to stick up for Nico Jackson as well in this transfer saga. But if you're him, you're trying to reinvent your career, you're hoping for a new chapter in Germany, this is the last thing you'd want to hear one of the big bosses at Bayern talking about.
Clearly, but I think he was aware of that. I mean, he knows that it's going to be complicated for him to have a room in that team, and that he would play some minutes, you know, if Kane or somebody else, Gnabry, are injured, and before those two players, some others too. So he knows that 40 minutes is going to be hard to be made, but at the end of the day, you still have some hopes that at some point you will have a chance, and if you are good, you know that maybe the coins will flip and it's going to be better. But now you already know that if you reach 39 games, you're not going to play anymore. I mean, it was like a little bit Griezmann, you know, signing what he did, you know, contract, where he couldn't play some minutes every game and they had to be substituted with Atletico Madrid. It seems to be a little bit like that. You know that you have a, you have a ceiling, and you cannot go there above there because you're gonna be the problem. It's harsh to hear that, and as Ali said, I don't know why Uli Hoeness went public about that, because he doesn't need to. I mean, you can say, wow, we're going to see what is going to happen, and we're happy with the team we have and the squad we have, but that's it. But don't go into details. I mean, it's not worth it.
Stevie, you having a little chuckle there?
Well, I'm trying to put myself in Vincent Kompany's shoes. I'm thinking, as soon as I hear this, do I go straight round to Jackson's hotel or house, or do I wait till Monday morning to have a word? Because because now he has to get him on board. And listen, footballers are the majority of us are pretty realistic. We know when we're in a situation, whether we're in the team, fighting to get in it, we figure all that out. But what you don't need when you know it's going to be tough to stay there at the end of this season, you don't need somebody slamming the door in your face. And that just makes it worse. It just makes it harder to come into training. It makes it harder sitting on the bench or in the squad if you're not even on the bench. So Vincent Kompany's going to have a man-to-man chat and try and build this guy up a little bit and at least get him to come in with a smile on his face if he can.
You just mentioned there, Stevie, that we tend to be realistic as players, and you know what your situation is. But also the reality of the sport is that there are injuries. So God forbid there's a long-term injury to Harry Kane. And now you're going to have to depend on Jackson, on the guy who you just told him, no,
he's not going to play.
So you just mentioned there that the door was slammed in his face. This door had just been opened. And Jackson thought, okay, this is an opportunity. And out of nowhere, you've turned to the same player who you were giving life to and said, not so much. This is not for you, not just yet. Again, you don't know how the season develops, and you don't know how important Jackson may be. If you're Bayern Munich, you don't want him to be all that important because that means that Harry Kane is scoring goals for you. But what happens if Harry Kane is injured? Which can happen. It can happen in the game with England. It can happen in the next match with Bayern Munich. And you've already, unnecessarily so, for whatever reason, you've already put this guy to the side. I do not understand whatsoever.